if your competitors want to see your product, they're going to find a way to see your product. It's not that hard. They're going to have a peer or somebody they know that's seen the demo that's going to share a screenshot or tell them how it worked or just send the whole thing that they have access to of existing customers. It's not that difficult to get access to products nowadays. And so when it comes to sharing stuff, like, yeah, don't share your source code and don't share necessarily like what you think the secret sauce is underneath, but definitely highlight your differentiation. If your competitors are like looking into that, they don't really know how you got there. And so that's the whole thing is like, if they're overly focused on what you're putting on your page, you're already ahead of them, and I just wouldn't worry about it too much.
Let's finish with Robert. You go first.
Yeah, Rob Kamitsky here, part of Fletch PMM. You may have seen me and my co-founder Anthony Pieri blowing up your LinkedIn feed, hopefully. We at Fletch focus specifically on positioning and homepage messaging, effectively helping B2B, usually SaaS startups, better explain their product to their ideal customer. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And Madhav, thanks for joining. You're going to present a little bit, but Madhav, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. I lead all marketing at Storyline, which is an interactive demo tool you might have heard initially in Dave's intro. We also did the Storyline Chuck at the Drive event, right? And so Storyline, like I said, it's an interactive demo tool used by some of the biggest companies in the world. You've heard of them: Gong, Shari, Outreach, some of the initial names. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love product pages.
Madhav, explain the background because it looks familiar to probably a lot of us.
Yeah, this is the Office background. We're big fans of The Office, and I just love it. I saw it on somebody's Zoom, and I was like, "This is cool. Let me just use that forever."
And I love that we all showed up with our collared shirts today too. So looking very professional. That's awesome. So before we get into the roast, we have 5 websites to get to. Before we get into that, Madhav's going to do a little walkthrough of product pages, how to build them, best practices, and he's even going to share a couple of examples. So Madhav, let me kick it back over to you, and let's get into it.
I've been in B2B SaaS for more than 12 years now. I worked with companies like HubStuff, Close, Bonsai, a bunch of others, and worked on many product pages. I've also reviewed hundreds of websites, and in this last 1 year itself, while working with Storyline, while working and seeing like some of our customers' sort of websites, and I'm actually sort of just wrapping up a website redesign project. So very fresh with the some of the learnings we've had with product pages as well, right? So there's a bit of sort of context from all different places, and that's why I'm excited to talk about product pages today. All right, so why focus on product pages, right? Like, and I always sort of go back to that. There's a very famous sort of graph that Brand Balfour shared. Where it's sort of been like my career hack, where it's sort of like you focus on high impact, low popularity projects, right? Like those are the ones that sort of help you drive your career. And product pages are sort of those pages, where nobody wants to touch them. They're often overlooked. They're hardly updated. So this is the graph I was talking about. This is from, shout out to Brand Balfour from Reforged. And, I think product pages live in that high impact, low popularity sort of thing. Nobody wants to sort of touch them. They're hardly updated. But if you actually work on them, it can actually drive incremental growth, in your pipeline. And what's amazing is that these product pages are where a lot of these high buyer intent visitors are hanging out, right? So it makes sense to sort of, just maybe work on them, right? And maybe just sort of like a background, like what's the point of a product page, right? So, like right in the earlier session, we were sort of doing like a homepage sort of roast there, right? And when you look at the homepage, you basically, have like these top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel visitors coming in, right? And anybody sort of moving to a product page is, potentially somebody who's sort of interested to go deeper into the product, right? And that's what they're sort of trying to go there. They're going from the top of the funnel to more middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel, and they're trying to self-educate themselves. And your job is to educate about the product in the most unboring way possible. So they take the next step, which is to either sign up or book a demo. And yet, most product pages usually, I say most product pages make these 5 mistakes, right? They're either too long, I think like maybe sometimes, 7 or 8 scrolls, just going one section after the other, ranting away, right? They're either visually dull, right? So they're just sort of like this textbook sort of a page where you just have just black, white spaces with a lot of text. They're either too technical, they sort of just make the mistake where they jump in, directly into like the advanced aspects of the product, not really sort of realizing that this person sort of moving from just knowing about your product to understanding, like the features, right? They either, they're overwhelming sometimes. This is very common. They have just too much information. They just, product teams try to just explain every major and minor feature into that one product page, just cram everything in there. And then I think the last one is just, putting some sort of abstract visuals or worse, like stock images on these product pages. We've seen that a lot instead of like real product screenshots. There's obviously a longer list, but this is probably the 5 most that at least I've seen while working on product pages. So, and then there's also like this huge argument that's sort of going on right now. There's a debate, right? Like, should you have a demo on your product page or should you have a video on your demo page, on your product page, right? And I think my answer to that is that I think there's a place for both. And what I would probably say is that demos are great for active engagement. It's particularly good for like the advanced level technical buyers who are looking to get a hands-on feel of your product and they want to, you want to sort of encourage interaction. This is perfect, right? And this is where I would say you should put like your main CTA. Videos, in my opinion, are more for like passive engagement, where like, for example, on the homepage, if you're trying to just sort of educate like a very top of the funnel visitor about, just about like the high level aspects of your product, you would probably put like an ad, which, if you've ever seen the scripts ad, right? That's a great sort of example of a video where you could sort of just educate, at a very high level, right? And also videos are great, to sort of put like maybe 2 or 3 second clips as sort of like gifs in your product page, right? Where you sort of show like how a particular step in the product works. There it sort of makes sense. So that's why I've probably written your non-primary spots, right? But I think what I see a lot of product pages make that mistake is, they try to push a video when users actually want a demo, and they actually, push, for a demo when the users actually want a video. And so maybe like this is not like a standard rule, but at least the way I see it is like top of the funnel or extreme top of the funnel, maybe focus more on the video, but middle and bottom of the funnel sort of visitors focus on more demos, right? And basically like your goal should be match the experience to users' intent, whatever they're sort of looking for. And just, if you want to kind of get started in Interact demos, you can create a free account on Storylane right away. And, we sort of pride ourselves that you can actually create a demo within 10 minutes. You can just get started anytime. All right. So I'm just going to take 2 examples just to sort of give you, just a sense of like what maybe a good product page and like what could be a bad one. We'll also take a couple of examples later on and do the roast. I'm going to take Gong's example right here, right? And so basically what I love about Gong's product pages are they're super short. Like they just take 3 scrolls to sort of go through it. They offer a product tour, right? Wherever they, if you want to sort of go deeper into the product, you can see a product tour. If you see in the particular sections where they're explaining the product, it's not a product screenshot. It's a product GIF, right? So it's sort of like a 2 or 3 second short video sort of explaining to the product. And there's like clear CTAs all across, right? That's what I absolutely love. Like, I think this is sort of like the standard that at least I sort of look up to. And that's what I love about Gong's page. I'll move to the next example of a page that I'm not a huge fan of. So this is a page of Rocket Lane, right? And I think there are a couple of things that can be improved here. I think one is that it takes maybe like 9 or I think 7 or 8 scrolls to sort of just go through it. There's too much information in there. Like what I went to, they've just talked about literally everything that exists in Rocket Lane into that product. And I felt like the entire page was very dull. It just had like this black, monotonous sort of tone that went there, which can easily bore sort of a buyer, right? And the reason I wanted to sort of explain these 2 like examples was just to sort of come to a couple of takeaways on the product pages, right? Like one is that, you should keep your product pages short. So maybe 3 to 4 scrolls is sort of like the gold standard. You could go for, again, by the way, just FYI, like any sort of advice I'm sharing, that's my opinion, right? Robert could have a different opinion as well on these things. But yeah, that's what we've seen work, right? Like 3 to 4 scrolls works pretty great. don't share everything. Focus on the 80-20 info, right? Like focus on some of the top features and just, maybe share that. I think the second thing is add interactive demos, right? Like we've seen that technical buyers want to see the product, not sort of, see a description of the product or see like a passive viewing of the product before talking to sales or signing up, right? That's sort of what buyers are expecting more and more in 2024. So would highly urge you to consider that. I think another sort of learning is that you should mix things up visually to keep them hooked throughout. So have different sort of color contrasts, have different sort of layouts, try different sort of changes every, and at every website fold to just sort of keep them hooked throughout, right, into the story. And I think the last thing I would, add into this takeaway is that, product gifs are the highest priority. If you can get those, that's amazing. Then the next is product screenshots, and the next is abstract visuals, and the absolute last is stock photography, in my opinion. And that's sort of what you should look at with product pages. And then I'll also maybe just give you a quick, couple of takeaways for demos in your product pages, because it's very less talked about. And this is based from internal data that we have. One is this actually came from a conversation with Robert, last week, which is about never sending visitors to demos with an empty state. So an example is that if you look at Hockey Stack's homepage or something, right, and if you click onto their view interactive demo, what it takes you to is like this demo without any guides. It's like a full interactive product with anywhere you could click onto like 100 places. And that is overwhelming for the user. They just don't know where to sort of click. Where do they sort of go to, right? So never sort of do that. Always sort of take them to more like a guided experience into it, right? The second thing is keep your demo short with like maybe maximum 12 steps. What we recommend is 8 to 12 steps. And sometimes products can be like very complex, right? They can't be covered in 12 steps. For example, cybersecurity products, they have, a lot of layers to sort of explain. In those cases, we sort of, suggest to split your demo into multiple flows, right? So there are all of these product tours where you can have like these, 5 sort of mini demos within a demo, which can all be like less than 10 steps each. And you can sort of let the buyer decide what flow they want to go for. The third thing I would say is that when you create a demo, you should always focus on telling a story, not just a demo, right? So you want to keep people hooked. So think of it like a sort of you're telling a story through your product, right? Like here's where we start, here's what sort of like, where you would see is the homepage screen. Like how you would sort of go and demo a prospect, you should sort of replicate that in your interactive demo as well, in your guided experience. I think, fourth takeaway is that you should definitely have a persistent CTA throughout the demo that pushes users to either book a call or visit a relevant page, right? So what we've usually seen is that, like we see a lot of users, also have like 2 CTAs where, it's like either book a demo or sort of, go, watch something. But I think never have 2 big asks as CTAs in like a single screen. Maybe 1 big ask is good, but any ask that you have, like any sort of CTA in every screen of the demo, right? Like you will see an improvement in conversion rates versus not having a persistent CTA. And the last thing I would say is that I see a lot of interactive demos where they're sort of gated right at the beginning. So, even if you go to Gong's demo, when you click onto it, it just sort of shows up a form. You have to fill the form and then you can access the demo, right? Just a quick rule. This is based on, again, internal data that, if you want to get more people to sort of view your demo, you should just ungate it completely. If you want to, if your focus is on getting leads, then you should gate it, but just know for a fact that a lot of those leads are not going to be great. Like just accept that as a fact, right? And so a middle ground, what we saw with the data is that if you gate at step number 4 of the demo is usually the best, So what we call is like, you start out the demo, you give them a teaser, the first 3 steps, just sort of give them a preview of like how it's going to look like. And at step number 4, to see the rest of the demo, you sort of put like a gated CTA. So yeah, that's about it. Just FYI, like Storyline, like I said, is an interactive demo tool. We do sort of, like I said, you can build your first demo in just 10 minutes. It's the easiest demo automation tool in the market. You can also see it on G2. It's used by some of the most famous sales and marketing teams. You can look at People AI, Pearson, Clary, Gong, Outreach, Cognism, SentinelOne, AngelList, Nasdaq, Dow Jones. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, and I'm excited to go into the roast.
Thanks, Madhav. Before we get into the roast, there's a couple questions that I think you or Robert could answer.
Yeah.
Rochelle jumped in and actually answered it from her perspective. But Madhav, we'll start with you. If you have a video, can you assume that people watch it, or do you need to repeat that info in written text on the page?
So what you're saying is that a video, but not sort of, but also repeat all of that information on the page. Yeah, I don't think that makes sense. If you ask me, I don't see the point of repeating the same thing in there. What we usually see with demos is that, with these videos, is that the video would sort of be like a TLDR, and then there's a detailed explanation underneath. That's one way. Or the other is sort of if you just want to just see the video and see it in action, then they would just take it there without any text explanation. Because the moment you sort of go deeper into that, you'll just make the page complex. That's at least my opinion.
Okay. Robert, do you have thoughts on that question?
I do, yeah. So I don't have a ton of data to back this up. When we look at, especially what our clients are doing with video, we see a lot of them just don't get watched. And so we tend to caution away from videos. And so I think Madhav nailed it in terms of GIFs, product images, make it clear and pair that with messaging. And so for me, when I look at videos, I'm absolutely going to state the main big things I want them to know next to the video, because chances are they're not going to watch it. And if I'm saying different things, then I end up with what's the narrative? It's it's going to be this disconnected journey of information where then it's kind of a hodgepodge. So that'd be my take a little bit without any more context.
It's like a semi-hot take is no videos on product tours. Is that kind of, or videos are a backup plan to other things before? 5 years ago, videos were on every product tour, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like that before products like Storyline came into the market. So you're basically saying we're moving away from video in product tours.
If we want to bake it into a hot take, yes. But as any good
yes,
consultants, the part of it is for me is how and why are you using the videos, right? So when I start to think of good and bad, it really comes down to what are you putting in the video? As it relates to product pages, they should be fairly, not necessarily technical, but more geared towards the implementation and how things are going to work. What I see a lot of teams do is they end up trying to promote the feature. And it's that's probably not why they're in the product page in the first place. They're already kind of bought into your product concept. Now they want to see exactly how the feature works. And so if you have those videos and you make them quite modular, which I see a lot happen even in structured demos, then it can work. But so I don't want to dive all in and say never use video. It's just are you actually helping your visitor or prospect answer some of the key questions when they get to that point in your website?
Okay, that's a great answer. Robert, I'm going to give you the next question, and then we'll go back to Madhav to answer this one as well. So the next question is from Ellen. It's what's the balance between showing product screenshots and proprietary information when you have competitors who are literally breathing down your neck to steal your enhancements? So what's the balance of showing, and actually I'm really interested in Madhav's answer here too, because you do interactive demos and you show a lot behind the scenes that a couple of years ago we weren't able to do. But what's the balance there between giving away too much information to competitors, but also obviously getting enough information for your prospects?
My take on this, if your competitors want to see your product, they're going to find a way to see your product. It's not that hard. They're going to have a peer or somebody they know that's seen the demo that's going to share a screenshot or tell them how it worked, or just send the whole thing that they have access to of existing customers. It's not that difficult to get access to products nowadays. And so when it comes to sharing stuff, don't share your source code and don't share necessarily what you think the secret sauce is underneath, but definitely highlight your differentiation. If your competitors are looking into that, they don't really know how you got there. And so that's the whole thing is if they're overly focused on what you're putting on your page, you're already ahead of them, and I just wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Robert on that. I feel I think we also sort of live in that age. 100%, even no matter how much you sort of protect your sort of in-app UI, literally every competitor knows what it looks like, whether that's through whatever sources they have, right? So it honestly, you whether you sort of not show it or show it, they'll still know, right? And I feel that buyers want to see they want to see the UI. They want to sort of self-educate themselves before they talk to sales or before they sign up or before they add their credit card info. That is a requirement. And And, like instead of, waiting for your, letting your buyer sort of, wait to sort of book a call or something, right? You should just sort of give them access right away. Like I 100% agree with Robert on that.
Okay, the other question I was going to ask, we'll start with Madhav because you were last to speak. What about customer testimonial videos on a product page? Do they work there? Are they worth including or don't? Let's say we're talking about doing video in product pages for now. If you are going to do videos, that we're putting a customer testimonial video there.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think you should add I think video testimonials, in my opinion, are better than text in a way that they provide more authenticity than text. Like text is like, hey, you could fudge it up, whatever. Video is somebody actually talking, right? So it works. With that being said, there's a bit of a caveat there. If you're putting like a 5-minute video there, it doesn't make sense. I think a video testimonial should be under a minute, preferably maybe under 30 seconds. Just put that there just so that it's quick to scan. And like, if anybody wants to go read a case study, they could do that later. But yeah, like I think, and that's generally with any video on the product page, right? Like nothing should cross the 30-second or a minute sort of threshold. Anything beyond that, you're sort of losing away.
Robert, thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say so. This brings up, I think, an interesting point that we might see come up in these audits as well. Is I am definitely pro testimonials. I'm all for video testimonials as well, or at the very least, getting like imagery and naming who's actually saying all the nice things. Sometimes I see folks like not add all that data, and they're like, "Luke said this nice thing," and it's like, "That's great, but who the hell's Luke? Like, why should I care?" Now, the thing that's interesting here is really the difference between a homepage and a product page is interesting because some of the products that we're even going to get into in the audit, their product pages we're looking at are kind of home pages for one of the products they sell. To where if you go to their homepage, it's kind of like, hey, we've got these 5 products. And so you go to their product page, what you're really sitting at is a home page for one of the products. That's a place where I think testimonials live. There's a counter argument on like, hey, when you move from a single product on the homepage to a product page, that it should be more feature discovery, almost resource intensive, where they've already made the jump of like, yeah, I kind of buy into this. I see you could do what you do. And they're looking for details on those type of product pages. I would say testimonials become less important because the questions you're trying to answer are like, do you solve for this specific use case? And do you have this integration that I need based on where I'm at? And like the testimonials just probably won't cover that and will be somewhat irrelevant. And so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of susses out even as we dive into these audits.
Perfect transition. Let's get into our first audit. I'm going to share my screen. I just need Madhav or Robert to confirm you can see my screen.
I can, yeah.
Yep. Great. And can you see the URL as well?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I think that sometimes is important. I know in the previous teardowns it was important. So, all right. Who wants to start? Robert, do you want to start with, do you want me to scroll first? Let's do it. We'll do a quick scroll through the page, give everyone a second to look at it. And Robert, you have the mic first, so feel free to kick it off wherever you want.
Yeah. I'll let you do your scroll. I'm going to hit you with the good, the bad, and then maybe like a little tip, and then Madhav could come in and argue for or against.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw ugly right into the bad category.
Okay, great.
I'm not going to pull any punches either. So the good things here, if you go back to the top, the thing that I like here that they're doing in their page is they're leading with a clear capability. Like they're telling me or giving me a sense of like what I would do with this thing. I think that's fantastic. I think the other thing, just in terms of aesthetic, I love the overall kind of design and simplicity of the page. Specifically, if you go down into the how it works, the nav bar on the left, I particularly like. I've got some bad tied into this, but I love how they're trying to basically say, hey, we don't know exactly what feature you're looking for. Here's our top ones to make it easier to navigate and find the thing. Now, where it falls short for me a little bit is they have this really cool nav, but if you keep going down, then they have just another like dump of features. So it's under like grow and engage workforce. Like then there's this, and it's like, I almost want to see these feature arguments in their structure. That I think would be really cool to help me navigate like, oh, here's all our integrations and here's where all our features related to crafting emails. And so that's where I think there was a little miss on more just structure overall. Let's see what I have here. So like the nav, clean design, leading with capabilities. From a bad piece, I think where this page got a little confusing for me, and I think it will for visitors, I actually think partially ties back into the, almost in some ways, the positioning. They say that it's an internal email software, which I thought was interesting. they're also calling it an internal comm software and an internal newsletter software. And so somewhere in there, they're telling me that like, hey, this is for sending emails. And then they're kind of positioning against Outlook and these other pieces. And that got a little confusing to me because it's like, do I really need a better way to build an email? When lower down the page, they dive into the newsletter. It's like, hey, this is for building an internal newsletter. And so I think one thing that would help structurally with the way they introduce these features is really being clear of like primarily what it's for. And I felt like just the broader sending internal emails was just too high level that then made it unclear like what even the best features are.
So would you start that, Robert, here with newsletters? It sounds like newsletters is something like the use case for internal email. You would basically, from a messaging standpoint, start talking about newsletters in this H1.
Yes. And when you do that, then it helps frame, and this gets into another thing. If you scroll all the way down to like the green band, if you frame it on use cases, then it helps it helps you articulate the problem you're solving, which is definitely related to this newsletter piece. At least that's the way it's like sprinkled throughout the page. If you do that, then the features and the organization of such become much more easier to pinpoint of like, in other words, where does Outlook break for newsletters where this purpose-built tool really shines? And I think you would get a better level of prioritization that can go into the page. But all in all, I thought it was pretty solid in general. I just think that there's a couple of those pieces there on just focus areas that could help structure it a bit better.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Robert. I think that's, I don't know if the Contact Monkey team is on. I'm actually not looking at the chat right now. I can't at the same time, but if you are, hopefully you found that feedback helpful. Madhav, let's kick it over to you. What are your thoughts on this page?
Yeah, I think, Robert covered it, a lot of it already. So I'll just probably just maybe try to cover the things that, he might have sort of missed. But so, visually it looks absolutely amazing. And I really, I agree with Robert, like the top features is such a interesting way. It sort of goes back to what I was saying, not have all the information, just focus on, surfacing the 80-20 of that. I think there are a couple of things there. What would be interesting is first, could you sort of just maybe click on the product nav menu? Could you just click on that? No, right at the top. I just want to see that as well. So we've got the product overview, they've got email builders and all of that. They've sort of taken the top features and put that a little bit in here. And then if you click on book a demo, what does that take you to?
Landing page.
Got it.
No scroll.
No scroll. All right. That's fantastic. And then if you just go back and click on tour the platform.
Yeah, it seems like there's a separate product tour, but I think this is going to be... Okay, no, sorry. This is an interactive demo. I think this might be... Is this what I think it is, Madhav?
Yeah. It is an interact. So what they've gone for is sort of gated the interactive demo right at the beginning, just so they can sort of capture all the leads. And they've probably added it as like a second page. And I think that they might have added it just so sort of to add like the gating and collect leads, right? Ideally, I think it would have made sense to add the demo sort of in the page itself, not add like a second step to sort of go to another page and sort of interact with that. But that's a small thing. So if you just sort of maybe fill in the information in here.
I'm not going to put my phone number in front of 400 people, but I'll just make up one. Let's see how good their detectors are for. Sorry for doing this, Contact Monkey team, but you did ask for it, so I'm a bad lead in your database. I'm just going to say it right now. All right, great, we're in.
This is, by the way, a storyline demo. This is super interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
we didn't do it on purpose, just for the record. That just happened to be that way, which is great.
Yeah, it's written right here. Yeah, but so this is an interesting one. They've sort of split the demo into sort of these, mini sort of multi-flows, which I was talking about earlier. I think what we could have done something interesting is that what we always recommend is to have a good sort of starting screen, right? You're sort of, they just went into like these multi-flow demos, but I think an introduction initially would have been great that a lot of people don't know what this experience is, right? Like they don't know how they sort of go around with this. So maybe just sort of giving an intro that, hey, this is sort of how just a, sandbox environment or some sort of a way to just, understand how you look and feel like. You could also add like a GIF or some sort of a hello or something just to sort of keep it fun. And then I think what's interesting that all of the demos that they have in here are less than 10 steps. So that's a good win on every step. And then if you click on any of the demos and just move to perhaps the next one, I want to see if they've added, they do have a persistent CTA on the left, which is book a demo. And then if you just keep going towards the end.
So I'm building an email right now. I believe that's the one I clicked on, showing me tracking. I'm on step 7. Here's a template. That's 8, and then 9. Here we go.
Got it. Yeah. So it seems like they've added like a demo on every multi-flow, which is also pretty good. I would say, yeah, this is a pretty great page. Like there's not a lot sort of to share. Just I think the only thing I would have said is that add an intro. And the other thing is also if you go back to the product page, I saw the product screen was a little sort of pixelated a little bit. Somewhere I saw.
Am I here or back on the interactive demo?
No, not in the interactive demo, but like somewhere on this page, I think I saw that. Maybe it was my screen.
Yeah, they don't really use the UI. That would be one of my pieces of feedback, is I like it when you spend the time. Like this isn't bad. Like this gives me some familiarity, but this is a huge image, and like every email builder looks like this. Right. So give me something that's a little bit unique, that's going to stand out and make the point you're trying to make.
100%. I think what they also don't have, I mean, again, this is sort of going a little off the point from what Robert said. I feel you should have some sort of, social validation or like whatever, customer validation on this page. They just have like the G2 reviews. They don't really have.
They're hiding at the bottom. I would move these up. Just hide reviews, stuff that they have.
Are the logos also at the bottom? Could you scroll even further down?
Well, actually, I don't know about logos, but the badges are down there.
Yeah. And then there was integrations.
Yeah, integrations is fine, in my opinion, if it's downwards. But like I would have also added logos in here. But
yeah, like who's using it? Validation.
Yeah.
Who is it? Someone like me, and am I a good fit because another company that I know of is using it?
Yep.
Cool. All right, let's do ratings 1 through 10. I think is what we're doing. 10 is out of this world, amazing, maybe the best thing you've ever seen. 1 is, I think was described earlier as take this off the internet. It's so bad. So Robert, put you in the spot between 1 and 10. What would you rate it?
Let's go 5.5.
5.5.
Yes.
Okay. 5.5 for Robert. Madhav, what about you?
Yeah, I'd give it a 7. It's a pretty good page.
Okay. Yeah. 5.5 and a 7, and everyone else, please chat in. Let us know. I see Ellen and Anna already added their ratings. It's got a 7 and a 6, so somewhere around the same ballpark as you guys. All right, let's jump to our next one. I want to be efficient here and get through a couple more if we can. So our next one is going to be Tenon. I actually added a chat over here now, so I can see people chatting. And apologies, I wasn't looking at it before. This is Tenon, and I will do a scroll. This time we'll have Madhav go first. I will do the scroll, and Madhav, feel free to jump in wherever you want, and then I will scroll and click around as you desire.
Yeah, so if you just scroll to the top, like maybe let's just start from the top itself, right? I am not at all a fan of using stock imagery on a product page. And I feel this is wasted sort of product page real estate. Like you could have absolutely added a product screenshot or even a demo or whatever, right? Like anything, like this is just a wasted piece of space. So this is not like, I think this is something I would definitely improve on. Visually, this page is actually pretty nice. Like, I mean, the take a tour is very sort of visible all across. And even the colors are sort of a nice contrast. So it keeps it interesting. And then if you could just click on take a tour, then just, I'm the guy who always clicks on take a tour. Okay. Interesting. So it takes them to a video, and so this is maybe a mismatch in experience in my opinion. How long is the video? Could you click on that?
2.5 minutes.
It's not bad, but it's still long if you ask me.
I think one, I'll just comment on this. This drives me nuts when you have a YouTube embed. And look, I could go the speech that broke the internet, Matthew McConaughey. This is Disney. Like that should not be on a product page on your website. You know, like that's like. And then the second thing else, sorry, I'm not supposed to be chatting in, but I'm infuriated and I have to roast this. No, I'm not infuriated. I'm just trying to be helpful. I've done this before. I've been there. I've done the embed. I actually had my CEO send me that screenshot, that exact screenshot. I was like, why are we linking to these other YouTube videos? So I get it. I've been there. Yeah. I will say the talking head and then the zoom around. I used to make videos like this at HubSpot back in the day. This is kind of hard to follow, and 2.5 minutes is a long time to listen. I don't think you're going to get high engagement on that. Like 1 minute and 20 seconds is the most I would ever do a video on a product tour. All right, I'm done, Madhav. Sorry, I'll give you the mic back.
No, I think this is a fantastic point. Yeah, I didn't even thanks for pointing out that like the sort of YouTube widgets showing up. I think the other thing that I sort of did not like about this page was there's no option to book a demo like from the product page. You have to click on take a tour and then see this sort of video in here, and then through that you're able to book a demo, which I feel is a wasted opportunity. I think you should have a take a tour and a book a demo CTA parallelly on the product page. So if you just go back to the product page.
All right, let's scroll down a little bit.
Yeah. And then, this is a product screenshot. It's not an animated, not a movie.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm on a pretty big monitor here. I guess maybe it shows a little bit more condensed, but that is hard to read on a big monitor. And I bet if I shrink, I don't want to break anything, but if I shrink it, I don't think it's going to get much better. The aspect ratio and fitting it.
Yeah.
Harry, Madhav, I'm sorry. I just, there's a few things here that are just, for me, important ones to cover. So I apologize for talking over you, but I just think that's another really important one, is just being able to figure out, like, this doesn't lead employee table of sort, like, it doesn't mean a lot to me, and I'm probably going to glance over it and just go to the text or move on to the next thing. This is a little bit better in terms of it has a few things that maybe they relate, and I kind of understand a form, and I'm building, okay, it's marketing automation. But for this, you really want to focus on, like, zoom in on what is the most important part here.
Yeah, 100%. And just to sort of add to this, right, like this screenshot, even if it's small and everything, that's a different problem. But the other problem is that if you look at the text here, manager marketing contacts with precision, right? There is no way I'm going to get the context of that with a screenshot. I don't know what's the before and the after of the screenshot. And I think there needs to be a way to show that, whether that's a GIF or something, right? Because this is not doing a good enough job to sort of explain that to me. I think that's maybe one point. Could you scroll down a little bit more, Dan? Yeah, I got it. And then they've got it.
Robert, anything to you standing out of what we've scrolled through so far? Oh, we got a video down here.
Yeah, the big things for me, most of my feedback on this one, I think ties to the challenge of, like, they're this marketing platform, so they do a bunch of stuff. And so, like, it's lacking a lot of the details, but that just might be the nature of their product. To me specifically, I think the hero, I think it's pretty weak. I think they're kind of leading with this outcome branded message. Like, I don't know what tenant automate is, like boost engagement. Okay, that can mean anything. Engagement with who? And so, like, their differentiation gets lost for me. It's like, what's valuable about this? Now, in their defense, they do an okay job of explaining at that altitude. Oh, they do contacts, they do emails, they do landing pages, and they do analytics. But then the rest of the page gets kind of redundant. They hit it again after they do those 4 sections. Then they say it again. We do email, we do lists, we do analytics, we do landing pages. And then what really, to me, the other thing is, like, I don't think this video is going to get watched.
Just so you guys know, each of those is a link and it has a separate page. So there's an email deliverability page. So this is really just navigation that they put in the middle of this page.
Yeah. And maybe that's the right path just based on, like, how much their product does. But that video here, I don't think that's getting watched. And then I kind of chuckled because these articles down here just feel haphazardly thrown in. It's like, what are these things? Tenant tip, reflect, refocus, then run. It's like, wait, I thought I was, like, figuring out what this product does, and suddenly I'm now reading an article. So this is a little different than the McConaughey video popping up, but to me, I don't think you want to drive people to these, like, abstract articles. I don't think they have a place on the page.
Yeah, I agree. Blogs just don't make sense at all. And even the why about us, like, I mean, the why video is, I don't think it lives on the product page. These are people that have sort of already answered the why, like, somewhere else. Like, they're here to just go on a deep exploration.
Yeah. My guess would be that and I don't know, and that's why I think there's an opportunity here. They have built on ServiceNow, which my assumption would be that that is their combination of differentiation and their focused target market kind of all in one. But they do it in a way that's so subtle of, like, hey, we're built on ServiceNow. And then they explain everything versus, like, reorienting it of, like, finally a way to make ServiceNow do all the things we wanted it to do. Here's the things. Like, I don't get that. And so I'm not even sure if that's the differentiator. I had to guess at that. And so I think that could be.
Yeah, it seems like they do mention it a couple times, but I agree, like, they're, like, that ServiceNow logo could be more prominent in other places on the page. Looks like they have a separate page about built on ServiceNow. It does seem like they've anchored pretty heavily around the relationship with ServiceNow, which, to your point, is probably the big differentiator. But I think you could definitely, if it's only mentioned 6 times on this page, just to look up, you could double down on that if that's your big differentiator. That's the thing people are looking for. Make every point almost about that, right?
Yeah, and then all the features get more specific, because then it'd be like, don't use a generic marketing platform, because then when I go do contacts, like, then I can actually hit it, be like, never do this manual transport again. Like, it's all linked in. Like, the feature gets even just much more sharp and more compelling overall.
Just the built on ServiceNow thing, right? There's a lot of these products today that are being built over platforms, like whether, like, updating, sort of your CRM in Salesforce through another platform, right? And I think the tenant folks should sort of take inspiration from them, like how they've sort of taken something built over a platform and just using that as a more focused page. I think that might be probably a better path to move forward.
Okay, so there's a couple questions that have come in. I have done a poor job keeping up with them. I apologize. But let me jump in with Joanna's question, which is, would you have articles that relate back to specific product, to that specific product, excuse me, like on this, like when we mentioned, Robert, you're actually the one who brought up the articles down here. Would you have them that link back to the specific product, or are you no blog articles at all on a product tour page?
To me, the blog articles are primarily likely to get them to your homepage and your product page. And so the fact that they're here is like, what do you want to send them in a loop to bring them back to the product page? It's like, they're here. Tell them what they need to know. Now, caveat,
action page. Yeah.
If you have articles that are tie into how the product's being used, again, I wouldn't call those articles. Those end up being case studies. We're like, then yes, place those in here. But articles themselves that are like, why you need a marketing automation platform, it's like, they're here. They're bought into that concept, at least partially, of like, yeah, I'm kind of looking at a new marketing automation platform. Like, yeah, try and resell the already sold in a way in terms of awareness.
And hey, one thing, like, this is the huge value that like people can get from just having a third party read it, because we've all been in that position where we're writing pages, or we're editing pages, or making updates, we're doing redesigns, and then we kind of like lose sight of that like perspective, like that outsider perspective, because you get so caught up in the language or making this work with your blog integration or whatever it is. So like, these are points that like we all have done this, right? Like we all have been in this position and put stuff in like this. But when you have that third party perspective where it's kind of like just a fresh perspective, you're like, oh wait, that doesn't make sense there, right? Like it's so easy to overlook. So I'm really glad we're doing this and covering things like this, because I think this is exactly what people need to really improve, their product or pages. So this is awesome. Okay, let's jump to the next one, because I want to have enough time. I think we're gonna give away some SEMrush in a little bit. And so I want to have enough time to do that at the end. But let's jump to our next page. This is from a company called, I think it's eNow Software, or it's Anow Software. I'm not sure if I guess it's Anow, but I'm not totally sure. Robert, we can start with you first, and I will do the slow scroll, and then you tell me where to go, and we'll do it.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's see where we want to go first. I think actually just in the overall scroll, there is way too much copy on this page. Like there's just way too much. There's no other way around it, like all across the board. Now, on the flip side, they do a pretty good job. If we just look at the hero, I liked advanced monitoring reporting for your Microsoft 365. I love that, but then I'm losing a little bit of the context. Like, who's this for? And like, what exactly is monitoring and reporting? I could make the assumption that it's IT related, but is it really? Like, I'm not sure. And so like types of companies that they're going after can be really helpful. Now, they answer this in the first paragraph there. And then there's some other things in here, like they should move that up. They should be like, helping IT departments, better handle monitoring reporting. What's interesting is that if you look at the purple headers as you scroll down the page, to specifically detect outages quickly, monitor hybrid components, and custom 365 reporting, those are pretty damn good overall. And so to me, figuring out a way to make those like still live how they live, but then very short and concise, trying explaining like exactly how they do those things, even making those the kind of H1 instead of advanced monitoring, is like detect outages, monitor hybrid components of your 365 environment. Like it would just be razor sharp. I immediately know why I'm on the page, and then they can unpack the argument. The other thing I noticed just from a messaging standpoint that I truly didn't like is if you look at the second paragraph, they're making a value argument here, greater visibility and service deliverability. Yes, but the second paragraph, they then go on to say, while increasing workplace productivity, and to me, that is so non-believable. The concept that, hey, me being able to know when Office 365 is done makes my teams more productive. Like that is such a bad argument that doesn't tie into what they're doing. And so in all of this, the last thing I'll say is it's just too much copy. They've got a little bit of like random assets in here, similar to the articles before. They've got like, enjoy these resources. Oh, and by the way, you might want to know how to master team quality, Microsoft Teams quality. Like there's some pieces in here that just don't fit. But this one has a lot of potential because I did read the whole page. Yeah. The reality is no one's going to read the whole page. The pieces are in here to really establish what is this thing? what does it replace or augment, and then what are the coolest things? Like they have it all. They just need to sharpen it. Like they really need to turn in on that.
To me, this one is they relied on their strength, which is copywriting, right? Like, and clearly the end result was they went with this, whether it's an external strength where they hired someone, they felt like this is the way to go, or it's an internal strength, like they're maybe the marketing team here is like, if you read some of the copy, I was just randomly reading this. However, the honeymoon phase soon came to a screeching halt. I mean, like someone spent some real time. Like that's not something you normally read in product or copy. Like someone spent some serious time, and they have so this is like a real old school like sales page, where they just super text heavy. And back in the day, you could get people to read that stuff or enough of it. And it feels like this just needs to be modernized, but I feel like they have so much good.
It does feel like the sales leave behind. That's a great catch, Dan. That's like exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's where they got it. But okay, Madhav, let me kick it over to you. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we're all, I think, probably all on the same page about the amount of text, right?
Yeah, 100%. We're on the same page. I think one is that when you click on Get Started, can you just click on Get Started today? I'm going to take that. Yeah, that's what I was fearing.
This email.
Yeah. I think this takes them to a demo page, which is the wrong expectation setting. When you click on Get Started today.
Actually, it adds in the fields after. Well, everybody's got my email now, so feel free to shoot me an email if you think this session was good, bad. Let's say we're in Angolia. That's fast. Form submitted. A member of our team will reach out shortly. Click here if you're ready to book a meeting now. Interesting. And it looks like it goes to someone's link to actually go and schedule. So I'm not really sure. Seems like a little bit conflicting there on this would be a good one to cover in the landing page section as well, like the intended action and getting someone to actually take the next step.
Yeah, but when you have Get Started today, the expectation is I'm going to get started right now. There's a PLG motion that I'm expecting there. I'm not expecting to book a demo and then get a sales call with somebody a week later. Like that's not what I'm looking for here. So this I felt was a miss on their end for sure. If you could just go back to the page.
Hey, that's all the way down the bottom below what. Well, I actually thought this was the footer when I came through it. Just by the way, I thought the page was over, but the footer's down here.
Yeah, this.
Sorry, man. I'm gonna go back up. You said.
Yeah. So I think that, and then also like if you see these icons, right? Like I think they honestly don't mean anything. If you ask me, I think they should use some sort of product screenshots. I'm gonna keep going back to the same advice, and then also this is a hot take. Not a big fan of animated explainers. I feel, if somebody's on a product page, they should see the actual product, whether that's through a product video. A product video is better here than an animated explainer, or even just a Loom video is better than an animated explainer. I think that should have been different. Then I think maybe the last thing I would say here is that it's a very monotonous sort of a design. It's just white and grays constantly, right? And I feel that there is no personality on this page. And I think, and I think they could do with some sort of breaking the monotony on every fold. I think that would work. Like, of course, I think the bane of the problem here is that obviously the sort of the excessive content on this page. But I think apart from that, like it's just these things I would look at.
All right, let's pause there. Apologies. I said we're giving away SEMrush. We're giving away Story Lane. Madhav, you should have cut me off there and told me that I'm getting. I was just talking to the production team, and they were calling me out for it and letting me know that I had that slip up. And I was saying, I'm just having too much fun. Like we could do 4 more of these, and I could spend another 2 hours doing this because it is fun.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so I am not sharing my screen anymore. Let me go back into the chat. We have 5 minutes left. Let me just see if we can do like a question or two, and then we're going to give away some Story Lane to a couple people in a few seconds. Let's look at the chats. Do you like animated explainers at all, or just not on the product page? I think that's a question for Robert, or was that Madhav that was talking about it?
Madhav, go ahead, jump in on that one.
Yeah. I don't like animated explainers at all. Simple answer.
Okay. Well, this is good. Let's do a lightning round. Just one person answering each. Robert, you get the next one. Any insights about effectiveness of wording for CTA? For example, request a demo versus learn more versus contact a sales expert.
This one's going to be highly dependent on basically your acquisition model and how the product works. I don't have too much to say other than like make it seem like it's something your prospect might actually say or do rather than trying to bake it into your ideal next step. It should mimic their ideal next step.
Perfect. Okay, let's give away some Story Lane. So we're giving away 3 free months to Story Lane, which is valued at about $2,000 each. And I have not 1, not 2, but 3 companies that have won today's giveaway, or this session's giveaway, I should say, because we have a few more things going on. The first is Deirdre Walsh from Circuit. Congratulations, Deirdre. Thank you for being here, and thanks for listening to our session today. The second is Alex Hunter from HiArc. I don't know HiArc, but that sounds Arc, A-R-C-K. Nope. That's actually how you spell ARC. Good one, Dan. And then Kelsey Verdier. I'm so bad with names, guys. I'm really sorry. And the company's Marquis, Marqii. I think that one's not on me. That's an alternate spelling. So Kelsey, Alex, Deirdre, congratulations. We'll get you emailed. We'll get you connected with Storylane. Thanks for showing up today's session, and thanks for participating in the roast. All right, parting thoughts, Robert or Madhav, parting thoughts on anything we covered today. Any last minute advice for anyone on their product tour?
Overarching advice on product pages in general is, I think, number one, figure out, are you creating a homepage for the product, or are you creating a page that goes deeper into the product? And I think we saw a couple of flavors of each of those. And as you can tell, they have little different strategies where the homepage for the product is going to have more of a positioning angle with like, what are the key value props? And then the positioning on the product page, the deep dive, is where you really start to get a little bit more into like, where and how do I do demos? How do I show the features in the best way? What are they trying to learn? And then maybe pay close attention to the headers you're using. Remember, people aren't going to read these pages. They are going to skim. And so navigation, nailing the main points to help them find the argument they're looking for becomes really critical.
Yeah.
Madhav, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's more like maybe just ask yourself whenever you're creating a product page, right? Like, why should a buyer, get on a sales call or give their credit card details or, give their email address to be able to just see the product, right? Like, that should not be the case. And I think wherever possible, try to have like product screenshots or like the animated screenshots that I explained, or demos. I think those work really well.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for spending the time with us today. Congrats to our winners of Storylane. And hopefully those that had were teared down, that we tore down, I guess is the way we say it. Hopefully we got some valuable feedback, some notes. Excited. Oh, and we dropped the links, I believe, for both Robert and Madhav. They're linked up. There it is. Perfect timing. If you want to go follow them on LinkedIn, they're both great follows on LinkedIn. Go do that, and you can stay in touch with them.